Most people think boredom is a sign of laziness. They assume that if you can't stick with a routine, you lack discipline. If you lose interest in repetitive tasks, you must be unmotivated. If your mind wanders during monotonous work, you're simply not trying hard enough. But psychology shows something very different. What looks like a lack of focus is actually the signature of a brain built for complexity. And if you've ever felt genuinely uncomfortable, almost physically pained by repetitive work, this video will finally explain why. Your brain operates on a dopaminergic reward system. Every time you learn something new, solve a problem, or encounter novel information, your brain releases dopamine. This isn't just a pleasure chemical. Dopamine is your brain's signal that something is worth paying attention to. It tells your neural systems to engage, to focus, to commit resources to the task at hand. Now here's where intelligent minds become fundamentally different. Research in cognitive psychology shows that individuals with higher cognitive ability process information faster and more efficiently than average. What takes most people 10 minutes to understand, your brain grasps in 2. And once your brain has fully processed something, it stops receiving dopamine. The reward disappears. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your brain has already extracted all the novelty from the experience. What remains is neurologically unrewarding, and your mind begins searching for something, anything, that offers new information. This is called the novelty-seeking trait, and it's directly linked to higher intelligence. Your brain didn't develop a craving for new experiences because you're easily distracted. It developed this craving because your cognitive architecture requires complex input to function optimally. Think of it like an engine designed for high-performance fuel being forced to run on something diluted and weak. The engine doesn't fail because it's broken. It sputters because it was built for something more demanding. You were built for something more demanding. There's another layer to this that most people never consider. Your brain doesn't just process information quickly, it processes information in layers. This is what psychologists call complex cognitive processing or hyperconnectivity. While most people think in straight lines, moving from point A to point B, your mind automatically considers points C through Z simultaneously. You see connections, implications, and possibilities that others won't notice for hours, if they notice them at all. The problem is that repetitive tasks don't require this layered thinking. They require the opposite. They demand that you suppress your natural cognitive style and operate at a fraction of your capacity. This isn't just boring, it's actively uncomfortable. Your brain is constantly trying to engage at full power while the task is demanding you idle. You've probably experienced this as a kind of mental restlessness. You're doing something simple, data entry, routine paperwork, a repetitive chore, and part of your mind keeps pulling away. You might call it distraction, but that's not accurate. What's actually happening is cognitive overflow. Your brain has excess processing capacity that the task isn't using, and that unused capacity doesn't just sit quietly. It generates thoughts, ideas, tangents, and what-ifs. It's not that you can't focus. It's that your brain has more focus than the task requires, and the surplus has to go somewhere. Evolutionary psychology offers an explanation for why your brain works this way. In ancestral environments, the individuals who survived weren't the ones content with routine. They were the ones who noticed when something changed. The hunters who detected subtle shifts in animal behavior. The gatherers who recognized when familiar plants became scarce and sought new territory. The tribe members who questioned whether the old ways still worked when conditions changed. Your brain's resistance to repetition isn't a modern inconvenience. It's an ancient survival mechanism. You are descended from people who couldn't ignore new information, because ignoring new information got you killed. Your boredom is the echo of ancestors who stayed alive by staying curious. This explains something you've probably noticed but couldn't articulate. You don't just get bored faster than other people. You experience boredom differently. For most people, boredom is mild discomfort, easily tolerated. For you, boredom can feel like psychological suffocation. Your brain interprets the absence of stimulation as a genuine threat to its functioning. This isn't dramatic, it's neurological. Your cognitive system requires a certain level of input to maintain equilibrium. And when that input drops below threshold, your brain sends distress signals. The restlessness, the frustration, the almost physical urge to escape, these aren't character flaws. They're your brain's alarm system telling you that your current environment isn't providing what you need. If what I'm describing sounds uncomfortably accurate, consider subscribing. Understanding your own cognitive architecture changes how you approach everything: your work, your relationships, your entire life. There's more content like this coming that will help you understand yourself better. Let's continue because there's more happening beneath the surface. Highly intelligent minds don't just need novelty, they need meaning. This is connected to what psychologists call the need for self-transcendence. You're not just seeking new information, you're seeking information that matters. Repetitive tasks fail twice for your brain. They lack novelty and they lack significance. When you find yourself unable to engage with routine work, part of your resistance comes from a deeper awareness that this work doesn't connect to anything larger. Your brain isn't just asking, "Is this interesting?" It's asking, "Does this matter?" And when the answer to both questions is no, your motivation collapses, not from weakness, but from clarity. Here's what most people miss about intelligent minds and boredom. The solution isn't discipline. You cannot willpower your way through a dopamine deficit. You cannot force engagement when your brain has determined that a task offers nothing worth engaging with. Traditional productivity advice, just push through, develop better habits, try harder, fundamentally misunderstands how your cognitive system operates. These approaches work for brains that can find adequate stimulation in routine. They fail for brains that require complexity as a baseline operating condition. The actual solution is environmental design. You need to structure your life to provide adequate cognitive stimulation, not struggle against your neurology in a battle you're biologically designed to lose. This leads to one of the most important reframes you can make. Society often presents boredom as a personal failing, something to overcome through sheer effort. But for the intelligent mind, boredom is information. It's your brain's way of telling you that you're operating below capacity. That your environment isn't utilizing your actual capabilities. That you're in the wrong place, or doing the wrong thing, or approaching the right thing in the wrong way. When you learn to read your boredom as data rather than deficiency, you stop fighting yourself and start optimizing your environment. You recognize that your aversion to repetition isn't laziness, it's your brain's sophisticated feedback system working exactly as designed. There's also a social component to this that rarely gets discussed. When intelligent minds lose interest in tasks that others find perfectly engaging, it creates a perception gap. Colleagues see someone who can't stick with simple work. Managers see someone who seems unmotivated. Family members see someone who always needs things to be interesting. What they don't see is the internal experience, the genuine cognitive discomfort, the neurological restlessness, the mind that's trying to function on inputs that don't support its architecture. You're not being difficult. You're being honest about what your brain requires. The problem isn't your needs. It's that your needs are invisible to people whose brains operate on different fuel. Consider what this means for your self-perception. You may have spent years believing something was wrong with you. That you lacked focus, that you were undisciplined, that you needed to try harder to be normal. But normal is a statistical average, not a design specification. Your brain wasn't meant to find repetitive tasks engaging because your brain wasn't built for repetition. It was built for exploration, for pattern recognition, for connecting ideas across domains. When you struggle with routine work, you're not failing at being human. You're succeeding at being the particular kind of human you were designed to be. The practical implication is this: stop trying to fix your boredom and start working with it. Find ways to add complexity to necessary tasks. Break routines with intervals of novel input. Choose careers and projects that offer learning curves rather than plateaus. Surround yourself with people who introduce new perspectives. Your brain will always require cognitive complexity to function well. Once you accept this as a feature rather than a bug, you can build a life that actually supports how you think. You've probably spent years trying to be more consistent, more routine-oriented, more like people who seem perfectly content doing the same thing every day. But you were never meant to be those people. Your brain was built to seek what's new, to question what's familiar, to find the edge where known becomes unknown. That's not a flaw in your design. That's your design. The discomfort you feel with repetition is your mind's way of pushing you toward growth. And once you understand that, you can stop treating your nature as an obstacle and start treating it as a compass. Which of these points surprised you the most? Drop a number in the comments. I genuinely want to know which aspect of this finally clicked for you. Subscribe if you want to keep understanding yourself better. There's more coming that will help you make sense of the mind you've been living in. I'll see you in the next one.